Hello students, in last class we have completed the chapter 1 of this unit 2. In last class we have discussed the software engineering and we have discussed some software process models and software delivery models. Now today we are going to discuss the second chapter of this particular unit, that is agile methods, in which we will discuss some latest software development models that we use for the development of software in today's industry, and that model is basically used for the product development. And we also discussed in this unit about the version control system. Version control system means a system that basically used to track, control the history of the changes in the source code that we write in the software. For that purpose we use the version control system. We will discuss two types of version control system here: distributed and centralized. Next, in this same chapter we will discuss the another important concept that is basically used for architectural or software design, that is use case diagrams. We will discuss how use case diagrams can be created, and we will see one example of use case diagram in the last. So we will cover these topics. Let's get started. Okay. So in this chapter, let's start our discussion with the agile software development. Before coming to the software development through agile, uh, we I would like to explain the term agile first. What is the meaning of the agile actually in English? So agile is basically means quick, very quick, or readiness for motion, nimbleness, activity, dexterity in motion, means a very quick response. Like if I ask some question to you and you answer this question very quickly, this is known as agile. It is the meaning of English meaning of the agile actually. Agile means very fast, very quickly. Meaning in dictionary we can say very quick and well coordinated. Well coordinated also you should add movement. So the performance of the, because the software development done through the agile methods is very quick and well coordinated, so the performance of the software that is developed to the agile software process model is very high compared to other traditional models we have discussed in our last video, like waterfall model, evolutionary model, incremental model, spiral model, and component based models. So let's get started. What is the benefit of the agile software development? Why it is used so extensively in the industry today? It is basically used for the product development. There is two things, that is, one is project and another is product. You should know the difference. Product means company develops some product for the customers, and this product continuously upgrades so that it remains in the market. And project is basically a any development activity like website development, etc., etc., thing we do, this is known as project. And product is basically that is market deliverable thing, and it has some competition with the different companies also. That's why product development needs very quick and very high performance software is needed if you are developing a product for a end user customers. That's why in product development mostly we use the agile software development. What is the benefit of the agile software development? We will see in the subsequent slide. Software process model that are people focused. In agile software development we focus more on the people. Okay, people means the people who involved in the product are focused more, like who is the user, who is the developer, who is the manager. So these kind of peoples are focused more rather than processes. We will follow the communication in a very precise manner. In agile software development we will directly communicate to the client or end user for their requirements rather than we follow the traditional process like documentation, etc. we use agile software provides the flexibility. We don't need to go through the various kind of processes that are followed by the company for the purpose of development. We use the flexibility in terms of communication and development. We give the flexibility to developer to work as per his needs, as per his flexibility. We do give the flexibility to customers to talk to directly to the developers if their requirement is changes. We do give the flexibility to directly talk with the development team by the product owners. All these flexibilities will be given in the agile software development model. Speedy, it is very speedy. The development is done through the programmed releases that are known as sprints, and these sprints are deliverable through the scrum meetings. We will discuss what is sprint and what is scrum in the subsequent slide. Scrum means daily meeting. If we say what I have done yesterday and what I am going to do next day, so these kind of steps are discussed in the daily scrum meeting. This is known as scrum, and this scrum continues till the sprint ends. Sprint is a time limit for which one sellable unit of the product is developed. For let's suppose it is generally for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we plan some activity, some release of the software, and then we release this completely within that particular time frame, and we conduct daily scrum meetings for the progress of the work. That's why we say this is a quick software development model. Okay, so these are some of the agile manifestos are given here. Agile manifesto, we call those. If the question is asked in your board examination that what is the agile manifesto, and then you will write these points. ठीक है. In agile development, we do small releases in 10 to 15 days. In each 10 to 15 days or 1 to 2 week or 3 week, we release some software components so that it is very flexible and very quickly the software can be developed. These are the agile manifestos. First one is the individual and interactions will be followed over processes and tools. In traditional software development, what happens? In traditional software development, we generally focus on the processes more. Like in waterfall model, what we were dealing with, we were focusing on processes more. Let's suppose we will do first requirement analysis, then we will do design, then we will do implementation, then we will do testing, then we will do maintenance. These are the various kind of processes were followed in the traditional software development models. But in case of agile manifesto, we don't follow these processes. We directly involve the individual software developments, clients, and directly we give the flexibility to talk to the customer by the developer, or if developer wants to communicate with the customer, then he can directly communicate. If developer wants to communicate with the product owner, he can directly communicate. There is no need to follow some processes. That's why in agile manifesto, first point is we give more focus on the individuals and their interactions rather than we follow the processes. Okay, so this is first. Second is, in case of like a waterfall model and evolutionary model, component based model, what we release the prototype first, and then we do some work. And in a waterfall model, what we do, first we release the documentation that this software will look like this, and this is written document of like 20 to 30 pages or 100 pages if the software is very big and complex. And this documentation is very hard to read and understand by the client or customer. In agile manifesto, what we do, agile software development, we don't prepare the documents. We rather than prepare the working copy of the software and display the working software to the client in small pieces, so that client can understand better. Okay, and the software development can be very quickly and fast. Third point is customer collaboration. Customer collaboration means contract negotiations. We generally, in case of waterfall model and other software development models, we do the contract first with the company that we will take your requirements, then we will develop the software and release that software, and then we will do the maintenance for that much year, and we have to be in contract of like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, like this. In traditional software development models we will do contract negotiation like this. But in case of agile development model, we directly talk with the customer what he wants to need and what changes and how he wants to develop the software. We don't need to go in a contract like we do in the case of the traditional software development like waterfall model. And fourth manifesto is responding to the change. In case of the old process models, we follow a strict plan, like in requirement like in waterfall model, what we do, we get the requirement first, then we will start the software designing. If the requirement analysis is not completed, then we are not supposed to start the requirement analysis phase again. So, or if the requirement analysis is phase not completed, then we cannot start the designing. So this kind of the restriction or plan is followed in the traditional software approach. But in case of the software agile software development model, we directly respond to change. If client wants to change something, we directly respond these changes very quickly. That's why this model is followed by the product development, because in product development, if there is a competitive product in market, and if there are some features is provided by competitive product, then same features we also need to provide these features as quickly as possible, because if we don't provide these features, then our product might be outdated and your product will not be used by any user in the end market. That's why responding change is a very necessary thing in software development. That's why agile software development provide these features. That's why this is very important model in today's era for the software development and product development. Now we will see the agile software development strategies or tools. That is, first is pair programming. Pair programming means pair means there will be a two person or two thing like this. Pair means two person. In pair programming, what we will do, rather than that for the development of the software, you need to write the Python code. And if the Python code is in pair programming, the Python code is or software developed to the Python is not developed by the one developer, it is developed by the two developers concurrently. This concept is known as pair programming. In pair programming, one will be driver and another will be navigator. Who will be driver? Like in a car, if two persons are sitting, one knows how to drive the car and another person knows the path of the destination, that how can we go reach to that particular destination. Let's suppose I want to go to Delhi from Ahmedabad. I know how to drive a car, but I don't know the path from which we can go from Ahmedabad to Delhi. So there will be two persons, one will drive the car and another will guide this driver to drive on that particular path. Similar way, in pair programming, what we do in a pair programming is agile practice, agile software development practice, in which the software development is done by the two programmers, works in the pair, sitting in the same workstation. Workstation means a computer that is basically used for the development of the software is known as workstation. On a same computer there will be two persons. If developing the same software, then this is known as pair programming. In pair programming, one person will be act as a driver and another person will act as a navigator. In case of driver, here it will not drive like a car. He will, in case of agile software development or pair programming, driver will write the code and navigator will guide that how to write this code, or he will review the code written by this particular programmer driver. And these roles are interchangeable. For let's suppose 2 hours he is driver, she is driver, and after 2 hours she will become driver and she will become navigator. The roles of these particular driver navigator interchangeably over a period of time. So the one programmer thinks and other codes. One programmer will tell that write this line of the code and driver will write this code, and after few hours might be navigator will become driver and driver will become navigator, and he will write the code like this. So the keyboard owner is generally known as driver. The developer who has the keyboard is known as driver, and the developer who doesn't have the keyboard will act as a navigator, and he will look into the code that is written by the driver, and he will help in the software development process. Okay, this is the concept of pair programming. Now we will see what are the benefits of the pair programming and disadvantages. Pair programming benefit is collaborative code ownership. Like if one person is writing the code on a computer, then he is only responsible for writing the code. If he make mistake, then he will only responsible, like a person. And if two persons are working on a software, then two person will work on same software, then two person instead of one person, two person will be responsible for any development, any change, any mistake. So collaborative code ownership will be there. The code that is written by developers for particular task or software will have the collaborative, means both have the ownership on the code. Better code will be written. How it is possible that this in the pair programming better code will be written? Let's suppose I have write the statement a equals to 2 and b equals to 3. Let's suppose person A writes the code like this. He is fresher, let's suppose he is new to the programming, and to create two variables he write a equals to 2 and b equals to 3. Now another person B, let's suppose he is navigator. Let's suppose driver written a equals to 2, b equals to 3, and navigator is just seeing that he is writing this code. Navigator, let's suppose have 2 years experience or experienced programmer, then he know that this statement can be written in only one line like multiple assignments 2, 3. So we are just reducing the number of lines in the code. That the same thing that we can achieve in one line is written by the programmer in 2 lines by one programmer, and this can be done in only one line. So this code is better than this code. If one person is only working on a software, then he would definitely write this, because he know that how to initialize the variables a and b, but he don't know the multiple variable assignment. So that's why he will not write like this, and we will end up in the 2 codes. So this is not a better code. Here it is a better code. That's why in pair programming we get the better code. Increased discipline means we will get more discipline. Let's suppose he is not working, then he will be working. Resilient flow. Let's suppose person A is on leave, then person B can work on that day. On that another day, let's suppose person B is on the leave, then person A can work. That's why the flow of this development will be resilient. It will not be interrupted. The continuous development will be progress. Improved morale. Both will be motivated for the development. Monitoring, mentoring. If one person is experienced, then he can monitor to the new person. And team cohesion. More team involvement would be there in this development. So these are some of the advantages. You can remember 1 or 2. Now we will see the disadvantages. Difficult skill sets may kill the project. Let's suppose B person has know the Java and A person know the Python, then it would be difficult for both the programmers to work on the same project if or on the same software development, because he knows the Python and he knows the Java. So if there are different skill sets, then it would be difficult. Disagreement may occur. Let's suppose the two he is saying that this code is better, and he is saying that this code is better, another is saying that this code is better, then it will end up in the disagreement between the ideas. Now scheduling conflict between the partners. There might be some conflicts, personal conflicts, then it may interrupt the hamper the software development. Absence of the partners may hamper. Let's suppose they both are working on the same project, then the presence of dependency of one is to another is very high. Then if one person is on leave, then another person will also not able to work without him. So that's why absence of the partner. And rushing means both will be try to finish the work very quickly, that's why there will be some rushing. So these are some of the disadvantage. You can remember 2 to 3 disadvantages for your examination. Now we will see the another concept called Scrum. This is the agile software development practice. Scrum is basically project in agile software development method. For directly question will be asked what is Scrum of the 1 or 2 marks, then you need to write that much only. If Scrum is asked, you can write that much information, it is sufficient. Scrum is a agile software development method for project management that organize the software developers as a team. What is Scrum do? In Scrum there will be a Scrum master who will organize the team, and there will be a development team of let's suppose a development team we will have a development team of let's suppose five members. Let's suppose we have the 5 members, and there will be another person who is the product owner, who is the product owner means who is giving requirement for the software development, and another is the Scrum master. This is the Scrum master who will organize the software development teams and the product owner and provide the effective communication between these two. This is how Scrum works. Okay, so what is the characteristics of the Scrum? Scrum is in Scrum first the Scrum meeting will be conducted, and in this meeting we will discuss the priority of the work, which if there are 10 tasks to be finished, then we will decide in this meeting, a Scrum meeting, we will the decision will be taken which task to be completed first and which task to be completed later. Okay. And then completion of the backlog items. In this meeting in Scrum we will discuss that backlog means the work that needs to be done by the Scrum team, by development team. Product owner generally maintains the product backlog. Product backlog means in this product backlog the list of work that needs to be completed will be added into the backlog by the product owner, and the Scrum master will assign these tasks from the product backlog to the software developers. Okay, so this is how we will track the completion of backlog items regularly in the Scrum. Progress is explained in each day regular basis. The daily Scrum meetings will be conducted, and for 10 to 15 minutes in which each developer who is working on a software will tell that I have worked on this task last day, I am working on this task today, and I will finish this task by today, and if there is any issue, that issue will also be discussed in the Scrum meeting. So 3 to 4 things will be discussed in daily Scrum meeting by the whole team, like Scrum master, development team and product owner. In this meeting the Scrum master will organize this meeting, and developer team will give the status on what is the work they have done, what is the work that they are supposed to do, and if there is any problem in the work or any issue in the work, any hurdle in the work, then this hurdle will be discussed in this Scrum meeting. This is how the progress is explained daily. Okay, so this is a agile software development practice. Now we will see what is the Scrum. In Scrum meeting we daily conduct the we first plan the sprint. Sprint is basically 10 to 20 days time frame in which the one sellable product is delivered. We plan a Scrum, we plan a sprint, and in the sprint would be of 10 to 20 days, and in these 10 to 20 days the whole Scrum team including development team and Scrum master should deliver a sellable product in this particular period of time. So sprint means it is a time frame of 10 to 15 or 10 to 20 days in which the software development team will release a sellable product. So we will do the sprint planning meeting before starting the scrum. Before starting the sprint, we do the sprint planning in which we decide what we need to do. We will add those items that we need to discuss into the product backlog. Okay, then we will do a sprint review meeting. On completion of the sprint planning meeting, we will do the sprint review meeting in which we will display we will pick up some items from the product backlog to the sprint backlog. Sprint backlog is a list of items that need to be finished in 10 to 20 days, and product backlog is a list of items that are added by the product owner, and these are the features of the products that need to be completed. And from this product backlog, we continuously add the items from the product backlog to sprint backlog, and in sprint backlog, if we have added the item, then this item should be delivered in this particular sprint in which it is added. So this is how we do the sprint review. Then sprint retrospective means after completion of the sprint of 10 to 20 days, we will after completion of the 10 to 20 days, we will conduct a meeting, and we will see that what number of tasks that we have added in the sprint backlog has been finished, or what tasks are pending that needs to be added to the next sprint backlog. And daily scrum meeting, I have discussed about this. Daily scrum meeting is conducted regularly in which the three things discussed. It is conducted by scrum master in presence of product owner with the developer team, in which each developer team is supposed to answer three questions. First question is what he has done, and second question what he is going to done today, and third question, if there is any problem he is facing to complete the work on a specified time, then if he needs some help, then this need will be provided by the scrum master and product owner to the developer team, so that the task can be completed in the sprint. This is the diagram of the first of all, we will have the product backlog in which we have all the features that needs to be developed, and it is maintained by the product owner. When we start the sprint, in sprint planning meeting, we add the items or tasks that needs to be completed in sprint from the product backlog to the sprint backlog, and then the sprint will continue for 20 to 30 days or 10 to 20 days depending on the sprint time frame. And then in this particular sprint we will develop a software that is working. Okay, this is how the scrum works. Now we will discuss who is in the scrum team. Scrum team generally contains 7 to 10 members, and it is a cross functional team. Cross functional team means there will be some person who are the testers of the software, there are some person who are the developer of the software who do the coding, and there are some person who design the software architecture. This is known as cross functional team. In a same team we have different skill set persons, then this team is known as cross functional team, and we will have the cross functional team in the scrum team. It select a sprint goal and specified work results. In before starting any sprint, the scrum team will select the goal of the sprint, like what needs to be released after 10 or 20 days. It has to right to do everything within the boundaries of the project guidelines to reach the sprint goal. The scrum team has every right to do that needs to be helpful in the completion of the sprint on time, and it organize itself by the scrum maintain and demos work results to the product owner. Daily demo will be conducted what has been finished to the product owner regular basis. Product owner is a person who is responsible for his product. He will give the requirement to the developer teams for the development of the software. Now we will see the who is the scrum master. Generally question may be asked, what is the role of scrum master, or define the scrum master. Scrum master is a person who is responsible for conducting the scrum daily scrum meeting, and who manage the development team and product owner. who manage the communication between the developer team and the product owner. So he is a person. Let me show you. Ensure that team is fully functional and productive. He will ensure that team is have the sufficient work and is working productively. And he enables the close cooperation across all roles and functions. He enables, if developer wants to communicate with the product owner, he will help in that. If product owner wants to develop with any developer, the Scrum Master will responsible or help to communicate. He removes the barriers. Let's suppose one developer is facing some challenges in finishing a task, then he will arrange some help for that particular developer to remove the barriers in the software development process. He shields the team from the external interfaces during the sprint. He is responsible to get focused on the sprint goals before it finishes. He ensures the process is followed, and issuing invitation to daily Scrum meetings are conducted daily, and sprint review meeting is conducted on completion of the sprint, and sprint planning meetings are conducted properly before starting of the Scrum. So this is starting of the sprint. That is how the Scrum Master plays a role in the agile software development. Now we will see the product owner. Who is the product owner? Product owner is the person who have the product and give the requirements to the developers to work upon. He maintains the product backlog, as we have discussed earlier. Let's see. Define the features of the product. Product means, let's suppose I am making some red pen, and what is the features of this product? Like it should be made of plastic, it should have the refill size should be some its color should be red. So these are the requirements, these are the features of the product. So these features are prepared by the product owner. Decides the release date. He will decide that on which day this red pen will be released in the market. Similarly with the software that is going to be developed will be released in market on this particular date. This is decided by the product owner. He is responsible for profitability of the product. He is responsible that the profit is made on the product or not. He prioritizes the features. He will say that the color of the pen should be made red first, or we need to make the refill first. So he will decide the priority of the task as per the market value. What is the demand of the market? As per demand of the market, product owner will decide that which task needs to be completed first and which can be completed later. He adjusts the features according to the priority or interaction is needed, and accept or reject the work result. Let's suppose the team has worked for 10 days and they have produced some product, sellable product. Then he will the product Scrum Master will give demo to the product owner, and the product owner will either reject the work done by the software developers, or either he will accept. Okay, so these are the roles of the product owner. Now we will see another important topic, version control system. Version control system is a basically system that helps to, let's suppose I am writing a Python code. Let's suppose a.py file I am writing, and I am writing some Python code in that, and this file is maintained by, let's suppose developer 1 is writing in the code in the same file, and another developer is also writing the code in the same file. This happens when there is a same machine and both are working at the same time. So to maintain, if I am writing in this particular software project file, that is Python file, I have write line number 1. At the same time, if this developer also written this line number 1, then there will be a conflict that the changes done by the developer 1 are overridden by the developer 2 if they are working on the same file at the same time. So these type of issues can be handled through the version control system. It helps to maintain the history of the changes that is done over a period of time by the different developers on a same file. Okay, so we can see version control system are specialized set of software tools that help a software team managing the changes of the source code over a period of time. Let's suppose the developer one written on the line number 1 at 10:15 a.m. this particular code, and if on the 10:16 a.m. developer 2 has done some changes on the same line, then version control system will maintain this history of the changes done by these developers, and it can be seen after at any time. Okay, so this is the task that is done by the uh, some special software that are known as version control software. There are two type of version control systems. That one is centralized, in which the repository is on the central server. We will see what is repository in the next slide. And another is a distributed version control system, in which repository there will be a one central repository, and each developer will have their local repositories to work or keep their changes history on local machines. So we will discuss these two in detail in next slide. Now we will see the terminology that basically we will use during the version control system study. First is, what is working copy? Working copy means, let's suppose I have a computer and I am writing code on this computer in some file, then this file will be known as working copy. It is a personal copy of all files in the project available to each user or developer of the project. Let's suppose a.python file, a.py file is the file that is maintained or written by 3 persons. Let's suppose 1, 2, 3 persons are working on this particular file. Then the copy of this particular file on which that these 3 individuals are working, so this copy of the files is known as the working copy, in which each will have the personal copy of this file on his computer, and these 3 are working on their own file. So this file is known as working copy. Now what is repository? Repository, it is a database of the changes. Repository is a system that has the database of changes, like developer 1, 2, 3, if you are working on the same file, then it will track the history, that is that the history of the changes that are done by the developer 1, 2, 3 over a period of time on their particular file is maintained in the repository. Then we will see the version. Version is basically, let's suppose this is the a.py, let's suppose this is the version 1. Now let's suppose a developer 2 has made some changes in this file, then new version will be created, that will be the version 2. Let's suppose after some time developer 3 has made some changes in the same file, then version 3 of the same file is maintained or created by the version control system automatically. So whenever some edits or changes are committed to the repository database, a new version of the database gets created. This is known as the version. Now what is database history? Database history is the changes. It stores the multiple copies of the database, storing each version of the database. Database history will be the what developer 1 have made in particular version is maintained by the database history. Next is commit or update. What is commit? Commit or update means, if developer A is making some changes in particular repository or in his file, then this is known as the commit. And if someone, let's suppose I will explain it in some detail. I will explain commit in like this. Let's suppose there is some repository. Let's suppose this is my repository, this is my local repository, this is my local repository, and this is my computer, that is on which I am working. Let's suppose the person A is working on a computer, and that is a computer, let's suppose. Okay, now let's suppose there is a file a.py is on the repository, and If I am making some changes in this file and sending these changes in my local repository, this is known as commit. If I am sending some of the changes that is done by me on the file that is stored in the local repository, and I am sending my changes to this repository, local repository file a.py, then this is known as commit. And if let's suppose some other person B is also working on the same file on different computer, and if he do some changes and commit his changes on this particular repository, and if I want to get these latest changes in my personal file or working copy, then this command is known as update. So you are clear? If I want to send my changes from my working copy to the local repository, this is known as commit. And if I am want to get the latest changes from the local repository to my working copy, this is known as update. So this is written. Commit is to update the repository to send the changes from working copy to local repository, and update to update the working copy to get the latest changes from the local repository to working copy. Now similarly, push and pull request. Push and pull is basically used when we have the distributed version control system, in which we have the master copy or we have the global repository. We have the global repository on the top of the internet. Let's suppose on the internet we have the global repository, and on local computers we have the local repository. And if we want to send our changes from local repository to global repository, then this is known as push. We are pushing our changes from local repository to global repository, and if you want to change the latest changes from global repository to local repository, then this is known as pull. So this is known as pull. If we want to get the latest changes from the global repository to local repository, this is known as pull. So you can see here, sending committed changes in the global repository is known as push request, and changing the or updating the local repository by pulling the changes available in the global repository is known as pull request. Okay, so this is how you need to remember. Now we will see the two version control system, that is centralized version control system, and another is distributed version control system. We will discuss centralized version control system first. So centralized version control system, there is just one repository, and that is central repository, and each user has one working copy but only one central repository. Let's suppose this is the repository, and every person, let's suppose this is a person A, he will have his computer. I have already told that the computers that are used for the development of software is known as workstations. Let's suppose computer A, person A is working on workstation 1, person B is working on the working station B, and person C on working on the working station PC3. Let's suppose these are working on some files or project. Each individual will have their working copy on which they will work separately, and the history or changes will be maintained in a single central repository or central file. This particular repository, if developer A wants to change made his changes to this repository, then he will do commit. If he want to get the latest changes done by the others in his working copy, he will update. These I have explained in the previous slide. So in central version control system, we will only have a central repository, and each developer will get his latest code from the central repository, and each developer will update his changes from this particular central repository only. There will be no two repositories, only one repository, and there will be multiple workstations. This is known as central version control system. Now we will see another distributed version control system, in which there will be multiple repositories. Let's suppose there will be a global repository. This is the global repository. This is the global repository, and these are the local repositories. These are the local repositories. This model is helpful. Let's suppose we are working on the multiple companies. We are let's suppose on a single project multiple companies are working. Then these different companies will have their different local repositories, and all the companies will have the common global repository on the internet. So each developers of this particular company will do their changes in this particular local repositories, and after completion of their work, they will update the global repositories by pushing their changes. And if some other company wants to get the latest changes from this global repository to their local repository, they will use the pull request. I have explained what is pull and push in the previous slide also. So in distributed version control system, each company will have their local repositories, and there will be another central repository globally, and each local repository will be connected with this particular global repository. So this is how the central distributed version control system works. So there will be a multiple repository maintained in the distributed version control system, because 1, 2, 3, 4 repositories are maintained. And distributed version control system is best because each developer has one copy of the repository along with personal working copy. However, other that the local repository of the developer, central repository is also maintained, that is known as global repository. So this is how the distributed version control system works. Let me move ahead. Now we will see one example. Sometime question may be asked, write a short note on Git. So distributed version control systems example is a Git. It is a software that is basically supports the distributed version control system, and you need to write like this. And what are the features of this works on this particular model that I have explained already. It is a free and open source. There is no cost. You need not to pay to download the Git, and you can directly download it from git.org website, and you can also modify its source code because it is open source. Automatically it maintains the backup of the source code or changes done in the source code of the whole repository. Automatically it backups. You need not to manually do the backup command. It will maintain the full history of the changes automatically. Whatever the developers will change, it will maintain the history of the changes automatically. And it allows offline repository access also because it has the local repository. That's why if you are not connected to internet, still you can have the features of the version control system. And once you are connected with internet, you can make the push request to push onto the global repository that is on the internet. Efficient algorithm, it is very fast in terms of operating the repositories, that are local repositories and global repositories. Okay, so if you get the question to write down the short note, you can answer like this. Okay, let me move ahead. Now we will discuss the last topic of this today's discussion or this chapter also, use case diagrams. Use case diagrams are a special kind of diagrams that are basically used to design the software, that how the software will work, who are the users of the software, what are the features provided by the software, so and what are the dependencies that are followed by the different features of the software. All these things are displayed in the use case diagram. We will discuss it with the example in the upcoming slides. So there are two types of the use case diagrams we can make. One is the business use case diagram, another is a system use case diagram. In business use case diagram, we display the abstract level of the system, that how the system will act, how will the system will interact with the user, is displayed at the abstract level. We will not explain the functionalities of the software in detail in this particular use case diagrams, business use case diagram. And in system use case diagrams, for which we will discuss the features of the software that are provided, and how these features of the software will be interacted with the system are discussed through this particular system use case diagram, in which we will give the implementation level date. Let's suppose this is the, let's suppose a banking management system, in which one side we have the clerk and another side let's suppose we have the customer. Then this customer can, what he can do, he can perform operation like this, withdraw money. So this is how we represent through this use case diagram, that is system use case diagram, withdraw. So it will be connected like this, he will withdraw the money through the clerk. So this is the system use case diagram. We will see how this diagram can be constructed. Specify the context of the system, what is the purpose, it will define that how the system will work, what are the users, it will capture the requirement of the system, how the system will be developed, that are captured through this use case diagram. It will help to validate the system architecture. So these are some of the features that are given. It is developed by the domain experts, because it needs the different needs the expertise, that how this softwares work. Only that person can develop the these kind of diagrams, or at the beginning level the developers are not generally able to build these kind of diagrams. Okay, so we will discuss these diagrams in detail in the next slide. Now we will discuss some terms used in the use case diagram. What is actor? Actor is a person, it is represented by this symbol. It is a person or thing which are outside the system and are involved in the task. A person who performs some operation on the software. Let's suppose I am using the YouTube and I am the user of the YouTube, means I am the actor. I am performing, I am using this YouTube software, that's why he is known as the actor. Use case means what operation the actor perform. It represents a task or system which is acted by the actor. Let's suppose on YouTube I am watching the video, that means watching the video is a use case, that is a feature of the YouTube that you can utilize. So actor will utilize the various use cases of the system. What is communication? Let's suppose I am a user, what I do, I am a user, as a user I will watch the video. So this is a line connecting to me. Let's suppose this is actor, actor is represented by this symbol, the use case is represented by this symbol. Let's suppose a person is trying to buy let's suppose there is a movie ticket booking system. A person or actor wants to buy a ticket, then buy a ticket will be represented through this oval. And if we are trying to show the relationship or communication, we will simply draw a line between the actor and the use case. This is a plain line we can use to draw this relationship or communication. Now we will see the system boundary. System boundary is generally defined through this is a rectangular, in which all the use cases of the software will be put in the system boundary only. We will see the diagram and then you will be clear. What are the relationship? We will see the relationship. There are two types of the relationship, that is one is include relationship and another is exclude relationship. Let's suppose when a one use case must be performed before the another use case, then it is shown by the include. Let's suppose in a medical reservation system, a patient will only be admitted if and only if the patient's registration is done. If the patient registration is not done at the hospital, then the patient cannot get the admission into the hospital. So this particular use case, patient registration must be performed before the patient admission, then such kind of relationship is represented through include. And another kind of relationship is exclude, in which if one use case may be dependent on the another use case or may not. Let's suppose in case of the in a dictionary, let's suppose if we are typing, we are checking the spelling of some word, then if this word is not found in the dictionary, then what we do, we can add this new word into the dictionary or we can skip it generally. So this is not the dependency of the check spelling on the add dictionary, that if we need to mandatorily add the word into the dictionary, we can add into the word into the dictionary, or we can skip it as it is. So such kind of relationship are displayed through this concept called exclude relationship. Okay, so this is represented like this arrow. Okay, we will discuss in this next slide in detail. Now we will see one example online quiz system use case diagram. So identify the actors. Question may be asked like this also. Identify the actors in the system. So who are the actors? These are the actors. Outside the system boundary there are three actors. One is tutor, one is subject expert, one is user. These are the three actors. And what are the use cases? This is a use cases represented through this oval. Report result is a use case. Take quiz a use case, provide hint is a use case, add question is a use case, clarify the question is a use case. So there are 5 use cases in this particular diagram, and this is system boundary. This square, big square bracket is system boundary. These are the communications, plain lines. Remember, this is not communication, these are the communications, plain lines without arrow, and these dash dash are representing the relationship. This is include relationship. Include relationship means before the result of the students will be published only if he or she is taken the quiz. If you don't take the quiz, then result cannot be published. So this is include relationship, because after taking the quiz only we can report the result, otherwise we cannot report the result. That's why this is include relationship. In extend relationship, that's, let's suppose take quiz provide hint. Hint can be provided during the take quiz. It is not necessary that every time the software give hint to answer the question. It is not necessary. It may give the hint, it may not give the hint. That's why this is shown through the extend relationship. And how can we read this? A user can take a quiz, then his result report will be published, or a user can get the hint during the question to understand the question. It is not mandatory, it may give the hint. Tutor will add a question into the system, or add a question, and then after adding the question he must certify this question. If this certification is done by the subject expert. Let's suppose a tutor add the question, then subject expert will review this question and certify this question. Certification of the question will be only done after the education. If I don't add the question, if tutor doesn't add the question, then which question the subject expert will certify. That's why it is shown in as the include relationship, because add question is done first, then only subject expert can certify the question. After certified, it will be displayed in the quiz, and quiz can be taken by the user. This is how this use case diagram can be constructed. Or the question may be asked that draw a use case diagram for the quiz system, or he will give the description that these are the system users, these are the functionalities, then you need to identify the actors and identify the use cases and draw the diagram, identify the relationship, what can be include relationship, what can be exclude relationship. Or you may be given a diagram and you will be asked to identify the actors, identify the use case diagram, identify the include relationship, identify the exclude relationship. Both way the question can be answered, can be asked, and you can very easily ask if you know these concepts in a better way.